Hey everyone, so I had my drone up at Anyox, which was a great big huge copper producer back in 1935 on the coast. And here we're just going to fly around there and have a whole half hour of drone footage we could show you. I've got another channel there, it's called Exploring Abandoned Mines, and we did a whole series. But this is just all the drone footage that we took here, so we had a lot of fun flying the drone over some of this really spectacular stuff here. So this is the this is the smokestack and stuff. They had a huge smelter up there, the coke plant, a brick plant, 3,000 people up there. It was one of the major centers up there. So we're going to go back and we're going to show you a bunch of this footage that we took. That worked out pretty good. We have the Phantom 4 drone, and we had a lot of fun flying it up there and didn't crash it, so it was all good. So this is inside the pit there. So there was a huge pit there that they mined. They mined 8,000 tons a day out of this big pit for about 20 years, and it was abandoned in 1935. So we were in there trying to, there's been nobody really underground there for a very long time. So we were trying to access all these different levels and document there and see what there was underground. And a lot of this stuff was flooded and stuff, but we were able to get into a lot of places. It was really handy having the drone to kind of show you what's there. It's a really difficult country to get around and see what's there. So we're over the pit here, and it's in the coastal mountains there, so the snow's not too far up, and you can see the ocean. The only way to get to Anyox is by boat or float plane or helicopter. There's no roads into Anyox. It's on the ocean, so pretty remote area. So this area we're looking at here was actually, there was a big explosion there. They mined the pit out and there was nothing left there, and there's waste rock on between there and the good rock. So they set a huge explosion, blasted all that stuff down into the pit. But the problem is they used too much explosives, and they really fractured the rock in behind there, so they couldn't tunnel into it anymore. It was all really crumbly, as you can kind of see from it. And it ended up shutting the mine down. There was another factor, I guess, the price of copper during the Depression, 1935 was really low. So while there was still copper left, there was not much of a market for it, and they kind of screwed it up there with that big blast. So the two factories came together and they shut the whole thing down in 1935, and the whole mine and the mill and everything got sold to Cominco, who dismantled it. They had another smelter and trail, and I don't think they wanted to see two of them in operation in British Columbia, so they scrapped the whole thing, and it's pretty much abandoned till this day. So there's a big, if you look to the right there at the top, there's a great big huge hole. We're actually standing in there, to kind of give you an idea just how big it is. It's hard to see flying over the drone just how big things are. We'll fly over that a few more times, and we're just like little ants there. That hole is probably about 100 feet high. You can't even see us in this picture. To the left there's not much for mining. That's kind of the host rock there. There's no tunneling in there. And the more the ore and stuff was to the right. There's a whole bunch of cross-cut levels and tunnels where they removed the ore. All that material would have been removed. There was never a big hole there. When the ore was there, it came right to the surface, and then they mined it down from there. So you can see all these cross-cut tunnels that they would have had a whole bunch of tunnels where there's just air there now. So, and then obviously as they removed the material, the tunnels disappeared. But there's still a pretty extensive network of tunnels and stuff there. A lot of it's flooded, and it's just a real challenge getting around there. There was one really interesting hole that we didn't see in ore pass, and I'll point it out to you. On this side, just really stunning to see some of the colors of the rock as you go along there. It's very colorful. It's hard to see just from the air, but it's when you go in there, you're just amazing how big everything is. It's just huge in there. The holes and the spaces and underground, the timbering and the ore chutes and everything's just massive. They had electric trains running in underneath where we're flying there. And they, like I say, they hauled out 8,000 tons of ore a day out of there. So, you know, that's like, I don't know, 200 semi-loads of ore a day. So it was a big... 3,000 people lived there. It was a big operation, and we spent a whole week there. We hiked down. You see that kind of a hole in front of you to the left there. We hiked down into there. There's a big lake into there. Just kind of panning across here, and like I said, there's nothing really for tunnels on that side. Although there would have been a main haul tunnel that went under there, but we couldn't find it, and you don't see it from the video. So we hiked up onto this big hole here, so you should be able to see us there in the bottom left side of the screen there, and we hiked up from below there. It'll show us that in a minute here, but there's still snow in the bottom of this pit here. There's the snow is just coming up there. So here it is. It's the 5th of June, and this country just gets a crazy amount of snow. I think they got about 22 feet of snow on average in the winter. It's just it's in a really wet area, the coastal rainforest, and in the wintertime it snows. It's just a massive amount of snow in there. And the other thing that's interesting there, if you look at the ore and stuff, you see this kind of a grayish, not really here, but there's kind of a grayish, silvery type of streaks of material you see in there. And that would be probably lead and silver, even though it wasn't predominantly a lead and silver mine. These are sulfides you're looking at here. There would have been some gold in there, but obviously the main thing was copper. They mined the copper averaged, so it was pretty rich. You see this reddish material. There's a lot of copper in there. The copper averaged, I think, around 2% or 2.5%. So it's a pretty rich copper mine. This is the ore pass that we like to get down. We haven't been in this one. I didn't really notice it till we saw the drone. It's above the big hole that we're standing above, and we can get some ropes. We're going to go back for another week in the fall time, and we need to get down that one and see if it'll connect into a bunch of these other crosscut levels higher up. In the background, you see there's kind of a flat spot. There was kind of like a town there. So they had a road going up to that area, and there was a whole bunch of buildings and stuff in there. And then they had tunnels, and they went into the main part. It's only about 1.5 miles as the crow flies to the ocean there, as you see in the background. But it's pretty rugged country. And so we're about 800 feet in elevation here at the top of this part here, and the ocean is obviously at 0. So it's, it's not a huge 800 feet's not a huge thing. In a 1.5 miles though, that's a pretty substantial rise. So you see this big hole in the background. We hiked way to the bottom of that, and there's a huge lake there, but we didn't have ropes. That got really steep, and we couldn't get to the bottom of it. So, and here we're just showing you some more of these crosscut levels. We couldn't get into any of those because, as you see flying around, there's just a real steep overhang going down into these crosscut levels, and we didn't have the ropes and stuff. We needed more equipment when we go back. We had the ropes, but you just need so much equipment getting in there. We just weren't rigged up for 2 guys to get everywhere, so it takes a long time to kind of scope all this stuff out and figure out what equipment you need and how to get there. And this is the big hole that we're standing on, this ledge here, just below it. So we should come into focus here. You can kind of see us a little bit there on the bottom left side there. So you kind of need to have people in these pictures, otherwise you just don't realize how big it is. Here, you look at that gray streak there. That's where we kind of figured there was kind of a silver ore, and we saw a number of those and took some samples of it. They couldn't look like there was some silver in there, kind of galena. The galena is sort of silver, lead, and zinc. So this is where the train came across. So you can kind of see there was a big canyon there, and that's where the train went up to the mine. We'll get in a little closer and have another look at it, but there was a big trestle across this gorge, and the newer road kind of goes to your left coming up. So we follow that up to a big, there was a huge ore bin that the trains actually ran right over top of it and dumped the ore into the mine. This is kind of adjoining, this creek is really polluted. There we go. There's this, that's where the railway was, right there. The trestle was below us. And you can see the new road up to the dam, and to the right, the railway is there. So your truck parked there, and then just almost parallel to that, that's where the railway went. There's a big electric railway. And this is heading up back into the back part of the pit there. So they call that the Alpha Pit. And you see there's a big pile of dirt in the middle there, and there's an adit that goes right through the mountain there, and it was all plugged with full of water, about 6 feet of water in it, so we couldn't get through. And it's just another area we like to get in there and kind of clean the water out of there and get right into there and do more exploring. Like I say, we're there for a week, but it's going to probably take us another week now after doing a whole bunch of research and looking at stuff from the footage to see a bunch of these other areas that we need to go into. And when we go back, they're really happy to have us up there. They've offered us, some equipment there, all a cat and a hoe and stuff, and we can go in there. And these roads are all just overgrown, and we can get back in there and clean out some of these roads and just get around a lot better now that we know where everything is. This big lake had a railroad went right to the bottom of it. It wasn't a lake then, and then somehow, I don't know if they had a tram or a cross-cut level, we couldn't figure it out, and they loaded ore out of there. There's railway tracks. You can't see it from the air. There's kind of a bit of a shack almost to the right in the middle there, and there was railway tracks and a whole bunch of railway stuff in there. So the railway went right up to there, and there's a little spur going straight up there. Here's another adit. They called that the Beaver Dam adit that went right through the mountain, right here, and it was also flooded. So here we're going up towards the dam, and you notice this is a swamp. There's a railway going along there. You see all those telegraph poles? What it was is they built a railway up to the dam to bring all the concrete up to the dam. And there's a low-key still sitting up there. It's right on the side of the road. We kind of show you the low-key. It's really rusty. It's been sitting up in the rain there, but they used that to steam locomotive to bring all the concrete up to the dam. And they had a kind of a winch that went up to a station, and then from there to the dam, and here's the dam. So they built this in 1923. It was the largest concrete dam, I think, in North America at the time. And it's still standing today. It's not full of water. They blasted a bunch of holes in the bottom of it to drain it. So, you know, it puts a lot of pressure on that dam. It's right full of water for no reason. And so then they had a big wooden kind of a pipe that brought all the water to the bottom to that big generating station. We'll show it to you at the powerhouse. And there you can see that hole right at the very bottom there. So they blasted a bunch of holes in it. So it's not full. It's basically empty now. And they'd actually planned on doing some work to revitalize this dam and use it again. But it's a pretty big project, and they kind of run out of funds. It's kind of on hold right now, but there is interest in getting this dam working again. So, you know, I don't know that much about it. There's a lot of structural issues and stuff that they've had to work through, but it may be a viable project at some time if there's a demand for power, or if there's another mine or whatever there. So this is where most of the water's running out. There's actually a catwalk going right through the middle of the dam. We walked right through it, and if you look at my that series we did on Anyox, and we walked right in there, and you can see that's actually pretty interesting, walking right through the middle of the dam. So just a pretty big structure. I think it was 117 feet from the bottom to the top. When you're walking along there, it's quite an experience walking over top and through the dam and everything and seeing it. Like I say, the dam's almost it was built in 1923, so 95 years old, I guess, 94 years old. And it was quite an achievement at the time, and it's really interesting walking through it and seeing it. There's beavers in there. They're trying to plug those holes up. So yeah, we got a little bit of water there. You know, you really can't do nothing about it. I mean, it just rains so much, and you only got so much time. And you get up there, and all of a sudden it starts sprinkling a bit, and you got a few drops on there. But it is what it is. So there's this is the steam plant right below us there. We didn't walk through it, and that's where they generated power when they didn't have enough water for the dam, because the dam in the wintertime, the creek doesn't really produce a large stream flow in the wintertime, so then they ran out of water. So straight ahead of it, that's where the concentrator plant is. The concentrator was there. The railway came down there. We were looking straight up in the mine. This brown material you see below us is tailings. So they have the concentrator here. So a concentrator just grinds all that rock right up and then separates the copper and stuff from it. And then what's left is just flushed out into this big kind of delta here. And that's how they got up into the mine in the old days. They had a big sawmill there, and they built plank roads all the way up through this kind of swamp, because the only area that was flat. You know, it was pretty hard to build stuff on steep terrain, and then they went up to the mine that way. But there was a big forest fire in 1943, and it burnt up everything that was made out of wood. There was nothing green left standing in this whole valley, because the fumes killed everything. So there's a building here almost, yeah, so we're going a little further up towards where the ore bins are, and you can see that's where the road was, and you can see the telegraph poles as they go up, or the power poles, I guess, going up to the mine, the concentrator in the background there. But it's really wet to walk along there. This is the backside of the concentrator. We're looking back at the tailings on your left there, and we're heading back into the ocean there to Granby Bay. And you know, that's a newer road that's going up there that goes up to the dam that they built. I'm not sure how long ago that was. They built that road up there, maybe in 2008 or so. And so there's a few other roads there. There's a big gravel deposit here. You can see the power plant kind of below us. We'll get into the power plant. It's really lots of fun. The power plant is just a real iconic thing. And so you see the creek here. That's where the water came out of. There would have been no water flow in there. They would have diverted all of it to the power plant. But it's about an 800-foot drop in a mile and a half. So that's why it was a good site for power, because you had that huge drop in elevation for the water. There's two towers here. One was for the smelter. The other one was a surge tank. So when they shut the water off, all of a sudden going to the power plant, so that the whole thing didn't explode. The pressure was like a pressure relief valve. That big steel tower is just for pressure relief if they had to shut the water off going to the power plant for some reason or another. So here's another shot of that big ore bin. That's where the trains ran right over top of this ore bin, and they dumped the ore in there, and there was big crushers underneath it. And all the bigger rock over 8 inches went down through this huge bin. And it's hard to imagine it now, but full-size trains ran right over the top of that, and they had a big trestle there. And there was a control room in the middle of those two things. And all the ore went down right through the mountain into huge crushers onto another electric railway that went to the smelter. This is another shot that we took from going from the other side of the pit there, and this is where they had this big explosion here, and we flew into there and used the drone to kind of really scope it out, which makes it really handy. So we found these big holes. We could see it from miles away, this big hole on the top, and there was two other holes, so we used the drone to just go in there and scope it right out. And you can see there's big ore passes going like way down the mountain there. So we hiked up the next day, and it took like a good part of a day to get up to the top there, to get down to those, and I had to use ropes and stuff to get into them. One thing that was kind of interesting, you notice on your right there's a big streak, and you can see it from a long ways away, that gray streak, and I think that was lead and silver too. So we hiked to the very top of this little part here, and like I say, it's so cool with the drone and stuff. You can get up there and look at these things and then think, oh, well, that'd be a really cool place to go check out. It really helps you to kind of scout things out with the drone. These are these two ore passes that went straight down, and it's pretty impressive looking from the drone. And once you get in there, we hiked down there, and I just had the one rope, and then Kevin didn't have any rock climbing equipment and stuff, and I didn't bring my ascender, so I couldn't get back up. So we only went till it got really steep inside there, and then came back out, so we didn't get down to the bottom level. So, and this just heading back to where the Jeep is on the road to the dam. And I hiked all through this and stuff too, and there's just huge boulders in this whole country, and there was lots of signs of mining and stuff in there, but it kind of looked like all the boulders, they were just from a blast or something. They covered up any tunnels or adits or stuff that were in there that we couldn't find any. There's lots of evidence of mining all through there. You see bars and pieces of dynamite blocks and a whole bunch of stuff, but we couldn't get in anywhere. Now this is something really cool. There's a road just a little bit above us here. See, going across the screen there from right to left there, and we'll follow it with the drone a little bit. We never saw this till we got home, so we thought this is really interesting. There's that road there, and then we'll kind of follow it a little bit, and it's pretty clear here, and we'd really like to get back there and trace this road out and figure out where it actually goes. It kind of starts from where this town was in the swamp there, and it goes up, but we never knew there was a road there, so it'll be interesting to see what, if anything, it leads to. And that's the road to the dam there, where we're parked on. That goes up to there. They built probably in 2008. So here is the powerhouse. So this is probably one of the most iconic things you'll see in Anyox there, and it just really is an astonishing building in every way. We looked at some really old pictures of it, and it was just like spotless. I think he had to take his shoes off when in there. And it's kind of sad to see it deteriorate like this, but after 100 years and stuff, it's pretty neat to see just how much pride they took in the engineering and how they built stuff and what's left. It really is amazing. It's kind of a shame that Mother Nature has taken it back. So here's just a big slag pile. below the powerhouse going into Granby Bay there. And it's just a massive pile of slag, but they sure taking a lot of stuff out, eh? But yeah, all them years of running that smelter, it produced a huge pile of slag. And, you know, it's kind of fun flying up that little creek there, up past where the powerhouse is there, and watching the stream is pretty violent going up there. It's a little unnerving actually flying the drone up there. You know, if you have any problems, the drone, yeah, you never see it again, but but it's a lot of fun flying it up there. So a lot safer than flying an airplane. So I mean, if the drone crashes, it's not going to kill you. So a little island in the middle of there, and there's some cables going across there, but they were holding some water lines and stuff. There's another little dam up there, and that's where the water for the camp. There's a water line going down there where Lyle and Linda are getting the water for the fresh water for the True Grid operation is coming down there, and a whole bunch of cables and stuff laying there. And we noticed a bunch of other adits and stuff to the right. I don't know if they did some more prospect mining in there, and we went along there and we couldn't get anywhere in there, but it's pretty unnerving. You stand on top there and you look down there, and you know, just one slip, if you ever fell in that water, that'd be it. You'd be done, eh? It's a pretty violent place. It's just a great panoramic view. We're standing just about right on top of the mine and just looking down at that flat spot where the roads came up and into Granby Bay, and you can see that newer road going to the mine coming up there they put in through in 2008. And like I say, it's just really steep country, and you can't see it from the air, but you start hiking around through there and it's just really thick because it's regrown, and you just get soaked. It's tough getting around there. So this is just this is where the claim is, or the True Grid operation is there, and the reason we're showing this is where the most smelters, they had kind of a little carts or something that took the slag out, but here they have these big long flumes that they just run all the molten lava from the smelter all the way to the pit. So they didn't have any trains or carts or anything taking it out. So here we're looking at what was left of the smelter, and they just went up there and just scavenged this completely. When Kamenko bought it, they sent a bunch of ships up there and they cut everything made out of steel. And this is where all the big buildings are and all the heavy stuff is there. And you can just see it all cut off, and it you know, just there's not much left there. But there was lots of huge buildings up there, and it's all gone now. So there we are on top of the mine again, looking back down the bay, and the big flat spot in the middle there, that's where the roads came up to the mine. This is where the coke plant was, and the kilns. They made their own bricks and everything there. They're really self-sufficient. They had lots of problems with these mines. They had strikes and stuff. They couldn't get coal, and so they just had their own coal mine, and they made their own coke, their own bricks, and they just tried to do everything in-house. Just amazing. And you can still see the kilns below us here. And if you look in there, you can still see the bricks in the kilns. So this is Anyox Creek here. It's really polluted, just really a lot of heavy metals and stuff going there that are running to the mines. But kind of fun flying along this creek here. And lots of bears along here. And just a big tidal flat. Probably a lot of slag has probably come down there and kind of really silted this bay in. It was probably a lot deeper back in this day. You can see a lot of it's kind of sloughed down into there. The huge tides here, like 24-foot tides, so big change from one time to the next. So this is just a big chimney in the coke plant. The top's kind of, I looked right inside there, and it's just a lot of bricks have fallen off there. This is where the big general store was, you see in the middle there. It was huge, like 7,000 square feet. There was 3 stories high, huge general store. There's a barge where a boat was tied up, and you see our camp in the background. And here's a bear, and I tried to take some good shots of bears. There's bears everywhere, but it's kind of a mistake. You don't want to go in from the water side. I should have went in from the back side, because you see the bear, they don't like the noise of the drone, and then they kind of wander off in the bush. If a guy would have been back in the bush and come down on him, would have got a better shot of him. So the way it goes, they saw. Yeah, they got lots of bears there. We had no shortage of bears there. Yeah. So here's another pretty good shot, and this is where the smelter is. So the stack on the left is a smelter stack. It's about 22 feet across, and the other one's just a surge tank for the water. The smelter stack is not really that good a shape. We'll fly over it, and you'll see you can see daylight through the side of it. And some guys with the helicopter aboard, they dropped the skidoo down the middle of it, dropped it right down the stack. And the surge tank, they dropped a washing machine down there. So I don't know how many more years this will be standing. They had an earthquake. There's another big stack that fell during this earthquake. This one, like you can see if we'll look down there and you'll see there's a big crack in it, and you see actually daylight through the side of the stack. It's about 22 feet across, that big stack, but it may not be standing for a whole lot more years. It's a pretty tall stack. So this is the true grid operation, and this is their shop and stuff. And then they tie their barge. There's a barge that comes in, 8,000-ton barge. The tug pulls it in, and they got all these conveyors, and then they load the barge in about 12 hours. So they'll have 4 guys with 966 loaders, and just loading all those conveyors, go all the way out. They have all the abrasive stockpiled there, and then they got a little camp there. They live there. And you got the shop and everything. Pretty good setup there. I've been there for about 30 years. I've been hauling stuff out of here. Same company that actually hauls abrasive out of Grand Forks. So it all goes down to Portland, Oregon, and they use it for 2 things: for roofing material and for sandblasting. So it's kind of good to see that byproduct used for something, creating a few jobs and doing something useful. So here's another shot of that big steam, the steam plant, the power plant in the background, and there's a whole bunch of, you see there's a big flat spot there, there's a whole bunch of core samples there. So straight ahead of us there's the concentrator plant and the tailings we kind of looked at a little earlier. We didn't get a chance to actually look at all those buildings. You only have so much time. And so these roads going all the way up here, they had a sawmill right below us there, and they're all plank roads going all the way up there. And there was a big fire in 1943, and it just burnt everything up. So it's none of the roads or the planks are just gone. So here we're going to go for another little. We just loved flying through this power plant. It was one of our favorite things. It's a little tricky flying through it because you see all these little twigs and stuff coming up, and you want to get down. But if you hit one of those with the rotors there, it's going to send your drone flying. So lucky I didn't hit nothing. You know, you're trying to zip through there kind of as quick as you can and get a shot of it. It's amazing how much stuff is really there, and you kind of go through there and you're like a detective. You're kind of trying to figure out how everything was set up and how it runs and whatnot. One thing you were surprised, there was bears right inside there. You see bear crap all inside walking through there. I don't know why the bears would go in there, but you know, like I said, the bears are everywhere. If you look up the windows, you see they were quite large windows at one time, and then they made them smaller. So we're thinking that was probably designed in Vancouver, and all of a sudden it was just too cold in there in the wintertime. They had to make them smaller. And so, yeah, the salvagers hit this pretty hard. I mean, all the copper and everything's gone. Still some copper left inside the mines where it's tougher to get to, but you know, most of the easy stuff, I guess, probably when Kaminko bought it, they told the salvage companies, you know, get whatever you can out of it and try to liquidate the assets, I guess. If they get 5 cents a brick out of there, it'd be millions of dollars right there. It's kind of neat looking out the window there, looking at the water. And so that's about it for our tour of Anyox. I hope you enjoyed the show.
Talk, cut to the chase. Time's running out, and the using